from the breath. Letting the number be just a brief pop-up in the whole process of the in and out. Checking, clearing, and coming back when you need to. Being open to the quality of patience with the process. And resting. Just staying with an awareness of how you are. Having a sense of what you learned from that practice about the process. What would help you? So now we're going to do a similar thing, but the counting slightly different. Now, the counting will be at the beginning of the in-breath. Sounds the same, but it is actually subtly different. So it's 1 in, out. So that there's, it's 2 in, out. It sort of really focuses you in the breath to do the counting in this way. So it's quick and just before the in-breath, 3 in, out. So again, the focus is on keeping the continuity of the breath as it comes in and out, in and out. And just being patient with yourself, kind with whatever is happening. Okay, so again, set yourselves up if you need to. Clear intention, the body, breath, and the counting. At the beginning of the in-breath, of the 10 breaths. starting at 1 again. You'll check, clear, and come back whenever you need to. And be patient in the process. Just a brief pop-up number in the breathing process. Be kind and gentle with yourself. Being patient in the process. Giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. Staying with it. Feeling the movement in your body caused by the breath coming in and out, the rise and the fall, the expansion and the contraction, settling into it. So you have patient persistence. As the breath goes out and you feel the deflation and the fall, then counting just as the breath comes in again. Gentle persistence and determination, clear engaging. Coming closer into the inner process of awareness, checking and clearing. Patient persistence. Staying with it. Engaging with the process of adjusting your effort so that you stay with the breath and the counting. You're focused and relaxed at the same time. And if you do notice any impatience with the process, if you can, just gently let go of it and embrace the process back again with kindness and care for yourself, a sense of confidence. And broadening awareness to the whole sense of yourself sitting here and just settling. Noticing if there's any tension in your shoulders or your face, letting it go. And when you're ready, opening your eyes with a kind of wide angle vision, taking in the room. So just a couple of words before we finish. It's a process. This whole thing is a process, and it's an opportunity to do something in a very kind of focused way that you normally don't get a chance to do in everyday life. I mean, there's lots of ways we have to be focused, and we deal with frustrations and distractions, but this is very particular. That's all you have to do. So it develops this skill of being able to be focused and relaxed, engaged, check when your mind wanders, in a very, very focused way, which is a transferable skill. Once you get it in the meditation, you go, oh, that's what it's like. That's what it feels like to be frustrated, and let go of that and be patient in the process and just adjust when I need to. Then you can do that with any situation. It becomes much easier in any situation. And, you know, there are lots of situations where we want to do something and we can't do it, and it's frustrating and we get impatient. This really helps with those situations. So just to finish, before I hand over to Ratnaprabha for the announcements, what we did were the first two stages of a meditation called the mindfulness of breathing. Some of you will be familiar with that. The other two stages are just the awareness of the breath with no counting, and then awareness of the breath in the nostrils. So you can carry on doing that, but practice this theme of being aware of impatience and patience with the process. So, this thing about choice is really important, and you really only have a choice if you're aware if you want to or don't want to, or if there's resistance. And then, if you don't want to, you can always work with that. You can always talk to that. Yeah. So it's only for 10 minutes. Come on, it'll be fun. Oh, come on. You know you love it. And sort of engaging with that, where's the duvet kind of feeling. And in that way, coming closer to engaging that, yeah, I'm up for it, kind of. So, is everyone here? Hello, everyone online. So I'm just going to talk a little bit generally around the topic of patience. And I think that one of the keys is recognition here of the difference between impatience and patience. And the recognition of, it's like reading your body for the signs of impatience. What happens in your body when you start to, want to jump away from what's happening? And then the recognition of it, the reading of the sign of it in your body, what that feels like to be impatient, gives you, again, choice, and you can work with it and say, just stay with it, it's okay, relax into this. it'll be over soon, maybe. And what's happening here is that there's a gentle talking to yourself, not the whole way through the meditation, but when you need it. So there's impatience here. Just settle, stay with it, it'll be fine. And then, as it were, let go of that thinking process. So the thinking process is not a constant, but you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And it's not like that. It's just very, very gentle thought that will help you notice what's happening, recognize it, and find your way to let go of the impatience. It might just be as simple as just saying, just relax the body. Because if the body's all twitchy, you just relax it, settle it, and that helps. Or very simple little one-word directives like just stay with the process. So for me, a simple example of this is someone is explaining something to you and you get impatient. Yeah, I knew that, but come on, what's the next bit? And just saying very quietly, yeah, but just stay with what they're saying. Just stay with it. But stay. But stay. And then you've got an alternative to the but, and you counter the but. And in that way, you deal with the impatience. And you come into a sense of quality of being in the process. You're feeling what you're feeling in relationship to what you're saying. You're understanding in your own terms what they're saying. So the quality of patience is something that we can be aware of in our everyday lives. Now, there's something that I think is a really good area for this is the rushing syndrome. Not Russian, rushing. God, that sounded like tanks. No, rushing. So you become aware when you're rushing, and you choose to not to rush. Now, what you can choose is to do something quickly, but they're really different. Rushing is a sort of driven quality. You're just being driven and you're going far, and then you go, do I really need to? No, I'll get there 10 minutes early and then I'll just be hanging around. No, I don't need to rush. Steady, just slow down. So sometimes the quality of rushing is that you're not actually engaged with what's actually going on. And I want to tell you a little story that actually happened. I've got this very dear friend called Terry. We've been friends since we were young, and periodically we travel together. And one time we were in Rome, and we were walking through Rome, and we had decided to go to a park, and Terry was slightly ahead of me, and he was sort of not looking around, and he was just sort of very purposefully walking. And it just occurred to me that he was ahead of himself. He was rushing, actually. And then I realized I was. So I sort of just slowed down and became aware of the space. We're in this big piazza, and I just took it in, and I noticed this door, and there was a woman standing there with a clipboard, and it just seemed like an open door. Somehow there was something there that was potential. So I called Terry and I said, Terry, come back. just let's go over there. And he's like, oh, here we go again. Right, so kind of used to it. So we go over and to this door and this woman, and I ask, well, I'm just curious. It looked like an interesting situation. She said, this moment is very rare. It's almost like something out of a dream in a way. She says, this is a once a year hour where this palace is open, and it's only open for this 1 hour a year, and you're here. And I said, well, she said, would you like to come in? I can guide you around this extraordinary Renaissance palace that no one usually ever sees. And we say, well, yeah. Okay. And so she guides us into this treasure box of Renaissance paintings and statues and the history of the thing. And it was, right from Renaissance times to the present day, a club for the highest elite of Italian society, including popes and bishops, ministers, presidents, and so on. And over the years, they all had brought stuff, Michelangelo or whatever, and put it on the walls. Probably not. Yeah, maybe. I think there was one. And she said, oh, that doorway goes down to such and such church, so the popes can come in without being seen. Yeah. And then we were just in this, like Terry and I love art, is what really has cemented our friendship, because we're very different in other ways. And we just like, oh, it's amazing. And then at the end of the hour, she just guides us out into this really rather bog standard Renaissance piazza, you know, in a way, if you can say that. It was not terribly spectacular. And it just became such a clear analogy of being how things open up when you're present. So, you know, it was an external thing that actually happened, but it's a sort of, in a way, it's an analogy internally of how if you're present, then you find all kinds of riches. You find all kinds of things that you never knew were there. And they might actually be more wonderful than you anticipated or thought. Because you just don't know, actually. And so you kind of, this process of slowing down and not rushing and being present allows you to engage with what's here into a process of interaction with yourself. And there might be possible areas that you feel uncomfortable with in yourself. But this is where the patience comes in, actually. It's a very beautiful quality. The Buddhist word is shanti, where you're very gentle and you're very kind, and you just engage with the process of what's here. Whether it's difficult or easy or joyous, you just engage in a very patient way with the process and follow the process. And whenever there's any tendency to jump away, you notice that, and that question, could I stay? Could I maybe stay a bit with this? How much distance or proximity could I have to what I'm feeling? A bit closer maybe, coming into it a bit more, and then you just stay with it. And that's the patience with the process of being in awareness and in experience, so that things can change and flow. Because the truism here is that things change through being conscious of them. And when you're cut off from them and you're blocking off from them, they're just like in a block, in a box, and they don't change. But when they come into consciousness with this lovely quality of kindness and openness and patience, then they can actually change. They can dissolve, or you can resolve them in some way. It might be something from your conscience, or something from your past that you need to go, well, I could have done that better, maybe, for example. And in that way, you let go of things, or things change. And you're in a process of development then. I need to keep checking the time. It's not my strength here. So, there's another facet to patience, which I think is worth mentioning, which is a similar quality, which is equanimity. Things go up and down quite a bit. And part of the process of being aware is actually being able to take in the feeling that there's discomfort with something, both physically and emotionally, even mentally. I don't feel comfortable about that. Taking it in and just broadening your awareness of the discomfort. So in a way, you feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. We're stuck with words when we're talking, but there is a way of going, well, yes, this does feel a discomfort, but how can I relax just to let it be there and be aware of it and feel okay with that? And how can I broaden my awareness to actually the sense of enjoyment of this process, the exploration, the interest, the adventure of it, even. So there is a sense of, in one, very often at the same time, there's comfort and discomfort. And one can sometimes go for the comfort and avoid the discomfort, or as a habit, you might be I'll just go for the discomfort and just be miserable because that's what I'm used to. And being aware of that is an important part of the process of growth and development. I lived at a retreat centre for 21 years up in the hills in Wales. Yeah, I know I don't look like the kind of person, because I'm very extrovert and city lover, but I did stay for 21 years, meditating a lot. And there was a particular thing that happened that I learned a lot from observing. These two young guys, two lovely